With our discussion, a reproduction for what it is. The honest reproduction is, to an extent, marred by the pitfalls of inaccuracies in reproduction just mentioned. Some odd quirks in proportions or designs spoil its appearance. The several elements of its design do not really belong together, because it is trying to be all the things at once, which it cannot be. Often the quality of the wood is not as fine as the period antique. It's not as fine as old-growth forest. The finish does not look old. To find a really convincing reproduction, and there are some, can take longer to find out than the traditional antique. Repairs on an original object. Antique furniture deteriorates with use and time. Repairs are needed, sometimes frequently and repeatedly. Discerning repairs and recognizing them as such, not mistaking them for enhancements or remakes, is not always easy. Also, repairs are not equal. Some are fake, while others are easily accepted, and some are even welcomed. For example, a tall case clock that has been standing for over 300 years has developed severe foot problems. One of the design features of feet was to protect the bottom of the case from the floor and its dangers, protecting it from vulnerable moisture, vermin, decay, breakage, and loss. If the case stands on 4 new feet, one must question whether the replacements are accurate replicas, or if the case has only 1 new foot and the 3 originals show to be exact duplicates, your problem has vanished. The repair of the new matching replacement foot is legitimate. Or, on the other hand, if 3 of the feet are exact replicas and only 1 foot is original, the situation and value are not very different than the other 3 old feet and the new one. The property of the repair can be validated by just 1 original foot that assures that the replacements are poor copies. Many repairs are not accurate restorations and may not be acceptable. At some point, a repaired genuine antique mutilates into a remedial remedy object. The clock we just mentioned, if we unknowingly find it with 4 new feet in a different style than the original, this is a remade object. Detective tools must be acquired. Time was precious in the 17th and 18th centuries, much more so than our day of labor-saving mass vacationing mentality. Inhabitants toiled far more hours a week than we do. The assigning of different tasks to men and women was an attempt to make more efficient use of the family's labor. Throughout the pre-industrial era, time was tied to productivity. A craftsman in a one-room shop would not waste any efforts in his day or let his apprentices do so either. A furniture maker in that period, frugal with his labor, did not paint or stain any wood that he did not show. For example, staining the inside of drawers, backboards, or secondary wood applications was a waste of labor, time, and materials. Painting and staining, however, are not a waste of labor for a faker wanting to cover up his handiwork. The original maker of an antique did not smooth any surfaces that did not require smoothing. The back of the chest, the bottom of the drawer, the inside of a seat. All areas are generally not seen or left rough, with the visible marks of the woodworker's hand or roughing planes, or even those of the sawyer's blades. If you see a backboard that has been finished, smoothed, waxed, shellacked, or varnished, you know it is not original to the antique. We benefit from the craftsman's need to do everything as expeditiously as possible, to do nothing the hard way, because you can examine his product for the hallmark, economy of labor. This is the hallmark. The fake making of an antique, and not just a piece of furniture, could always afford to spend the extra time and effort on what the period craftsman had to do as efficiently as possible. The evidence of this extra expenditure testifies to post-period work. As you examine an antique, analyze a mental reconstruction and try to determine how, why, and where on the object the craftsman utilized his time. Consistency is related to economy of labor. If a man or shop made a drawer a certain way, it would be uneconomical to use his labor to vary this technique. When furniture was being made or produced in a shop with a few craftsmen, the man who made one drawer for a Chippendale tall chest of drawers made all of them. He may not have been the carver, but he made the drawers. With each piece or set look of consistency of construction. Drawer construction in the uppercase should match that of the lowercase. If they don't, you are looking at a married piece. If the hand plane marks are not the same on the inside of all four bed rails, you could have a marriage of two beds, or at least an increase of bed size. Your eyes are not enough. Be tactile. Become familiar with passing your hand over the surfaces, moldings, carvings, edges. Touch is a keen sense of variation. Use it to your advantage. You must understand at times consistency was relegated to components in a piece. In a lot of large shops in the 18th century, you could have had multiple carvers or turners. If we examine a Jacobean armchair, for example, possibly one carver would carve all of the crest rails and another the backsplats. So you should get to the point where you can, using your hands, determine the difference between the two carved surfaces, hence the two different carved hands. So if you have a period set of these chairs, we will be looking for consistency of one hand carving at all the crest rails and all the other carving of the splats. If not, there may be replaced components, a reproduction or an added set. Variations in contour may give the appearance of inconsistency or thickness variations, whether it is one drawer side to another or different thicknesses of identically placed spindles on or in a chair. These variations are not the result of inconsistent workmanship, but rather speedy, casual craftsmanship. A piece may not be of high value item, but in your collection, but it was just furniture to the man who produced it and to his client who, not living in a world of machine-made identical products, was not accustomed to identical interchangeable components. At the same token, the division of labor was well established by 1710 in the furniture industry in London, and more often than not, apprentice-driven shops produced high quality and consistency. Of course, this would have seen a great variance from single country to single country per craftsman. In the end, you must put yourself into an 18th century craft state of mind, business, and survival mindset to understand their consistency of construction. I recommend putting a kit or briefcase together with the tools for your detective work. These are the following items I recommend to put into the kit. Number one, a magnifying glass at least 3.5 times the power. This could be a loupe or a headset. Number two, a jeweler's loupe of 10 power. Number three, a clamp light with a 150 watt bulb or greater, a 500 watt if possible. Number 4, white cotton conservation gloves. Number 5, a tape measure in metric and imperial. And number 6, a 6-inch square. Number 7, calipers for measuring turnings. Number 8, basic wood and veneer samples if you are having difficulty identifying wood. Number 9, stubby screwdrivers, different sizes and configurations. 10, tack lifter, wide putty knives, sharp knives, needle nose pliers. 11, rare earth magnets, writing utensils and pads. And 12, envelopes or very small plastic bags for any samples. 13, a black light, telescopic mirror, and a halogen torch. 14, camera, or the camera in their phone could be sufficient. And number 15, small vials of solvents, alcohol, lacquer thinner, and a mixture of dish detergent with water and ear swabs.